Hi, good morning, everybody. So I decided to come outside today. It's a nice, great day, not a cloud in the sky. I know we got us a air quality warning, but I'm sitting in the shade and it's pretty cool, right? All right, look, everybody. Tomorrow is the first day of early voting, and I encourage and better yet urge all of you to go out and vote. So I wanted to take some time today and really just make a case. And I'm making this case because I think we need to be clear about who our candidates are for Throgs Neck and the information you should have while going in to vote. So, look, and I'm going to start this way, right? Because I am voting for Jonathan Soto for the 82nd Assembly District. And part of that reason is because I know what Jonathan Soto stands for, but I also know that I have some real issues with our current Assembly member, Michael Benedetto. And I just wanted to share those with you. So, for me, right, and I want to be clear with everyone. So, before folks start coming out and giving me a hard time, I just want to be clear. This has nothing to do with, like, it's nothing personal, right? And, I've been looking at a lot of posts on social media, and I'm concerned that Assemblyman Benedetto right now is hurling a whole lot of just personal attacks on Jonathan Soto, questioning his faith and questioning his standing as a faith leader. And as someone who is a man of faith myself, I find that very offensive, right? At the end of the day, talking about the issues and making a case around the issues is what we ought to be doing. It's what we're looking for in our representatives, not character attacks and not attacking the faith and really making, you know, in my opinion, just, you know, vile statements about someone's faith and what they believe in and how they're supposed to act as a faith leader. I find that offensive. It gets away from what the real issues are. So here's my case. Here's my point. So a few months ago, well, this has been going on for a number of years, right? In New York City, we have a system of public school governance called mayoral control. And for those of you who are unaware of what mayoral control actually is, mayoral control of New York City public schools gives the mayor pretty much unilateral control of the system. And he appoints the chancellor, they set the budget, they call all the shots, and they have a supermajority of the members of the Board of Education. Well, that Board of Education is how it's written in state law, but many of you might know this as the Panel for Educational Policy. And earlier this year, there were hearings that the New York State Education Department hosted around mayoral control, in which the vast majority of people that came out and testified, they had a hearing in every borough and they wrote a report. And I urge all of you to go to the New York State Education Department's website and take a look at that report. It's roughly 300 pages, but the summary up front really kind of explains it well. The point is that people, having seen our public school system ignore their needs, ignore their requests, and operate in a way that is very unresponsive to those needs, the vast majority of people came out and gave testimony in opposition to an an extension of mayoral control. Now, that said, Michael Benedetto, Assemblymember Benedetto, who is the chair of the New York State Assembly Education Committee, came out on record in the face of 85%. Let me not put an exact number on it. I'll say the vast majority. I know that there were roughly a handful of people out of the hundreds of people that testified that said that they were for maintaining mayoral control. But the reality is that the vast majority of the community came out and said that they were opposed to it. And that said, Michael Benedetto ignored that and called for a 6-year extension of mayoral control. So, in my opinion, and the way I feel that someone who is willing to defy the vast majority of the members of our community when they call for a system of governance that is more community centered. Now, they all didn't say that, and I want to be clear about that. Some said, let's modify the current system. Some people said, let's scrap it and do something else. But hardly anyone said that the current system of mayoral control was acceptable to them, except for people like Michael Benedetto. And I think that's important for you to know. All right? So that's one. And the other issue is, well, before I get to the other issue, I also want to take that and contrast it with what Jonathan Soto has been saying. As a public school parent in our district, in the 82nd Assembly District, in Community Education Council, in the Community School District 8, has came out with parents, as a parent himself, and called for an end to mayoral control. So Jonathan Soto has been on the side of the vast majority of parents who have said that mayoral control either needs to be modified or abolished, right? Or, like we need to get rid of it and do something else. And Michael Benedetto, by contrast, is saying that we could run with a 6-year extension of mayoral control. A 6-year extension, by the way, that the New York State legislature and the governor ended up not going with. So I want to be clear about that also, that Assemblymember Benedetto was really the outlier in all of this. That even the current extension of mayoral control that we got was for 2 years with some safeguards. And we can question the safeguards, and that's another conversation for another day. But Assemblymember Benedetto called for a 6-year extension of mayoral control when no one else did. So just want to highlight that. Now, my next issue really lies in something that Assemblymember Benedetto said years ago, right? And, I'm sure that the assembly member will dispute this, but I would invite anyone to come to Throgs Neck Houses and talk to people who were at a residence council meeting back in 2018. And I'm taking it back to 2018 because, In 2018, Assemblymember Benedetto, State Senator Jeff Klein, yes, the IDC State Senator Jeff Klein, and the then New York City Council member Mark Jonai all showed up in 2018, right around election time, to the Residents Council meeting in Throgsneck Houses. And Assemblymember Benedetto said something that, one, I found highly offensive, but I also, in my opinion, believe speaks to the real issue we have in Throgsneck Houses. So, Assemblymember Benedetto said this. And, forgive me, this is 2024, and I'm talking about an incident that happened in 2018. But the gist of it is this. At the time, then Senator Klein came in and spoke to why we should vote for him. And Councilmember Jonai came in and spoke to why we should vote for him. And Benedetto spoke to why we should vote for him. But there was something he said that really ruffled the feathers of a lot of people in that meeting. And what he said was something to the effect of this. And again, forgive me if I don't quote it, verbatim, but I'm going to paraphrase it and recall it as I remember. Benedetto said to the Residents Council, "I pay attention to Co-op City because that's who comes out and votes for me." And the big issue I have with that is, as an assembly member, you need to pay attention to everyone in your district, right? In Throgsneck, we got some real issues out here that politician after politician, year in and year out, claim to care about, but our condition, our environment doesn't seem to change much. I mean, unless you consider, getting rid of the bus stop right outside of the senior center, or, digging up the same sidewalk on the corner of Schley and Balcom, right? Nothing really changes for us, right? It rains outside, it rains in our staircase, right? Black mold is still everywhere. The skunk infestation is still going on. We still got violence issues that we're trying to deal with. And our schools really do not receive the funding that they need, right? So, with that, and again, to have an assembly member come into your house, right, which is, what Throgsneck, what the Residents Council meeting was, to have an assembly member come into your house, into your meeting, and say he pays attention to Co-op City because that's who comes out and votes for him, literally, or at least to me, literally says that I'm not paying attention to you because enough of you don't come out and vote. And by contrast, Jonathan Soto has come to Throgsneck on several occasions. Jonathan Soto has been all over this district saying how he's going to, fight for all of us in Albany. And I can appreciate that. We can talk about some of the things that Jonathan Soto has done, like homework helpers programs, really helping citizens that don't have enough food in terms of like food pantries and so on. But for me, it's that one thing that you have someone who is really committed and has said publicly that he is committed to helping everyone in the 82nd district versus, a a sitting assembly member who has said that he pays attention to Co-op City because that's who comes out and votes for him. And I think that we really do need to take those kinds of things into consideration when we are walking into the voting booth. Because when you look around and you do not see anything improving for you, when you do not see your life getting better, when you do not see your schools getting better, when you do not see the black mold going away in your apartment, when you do not see the bus stop open across the street from the senior center, when you see cuts to funding for programs and services that benefit our seniors and benefits our young people, right? You need to take a hard look at, the politicians and the people who represent you in politics, because if they are in positions of power, as Benedetto is, like, again, the chair of the New York State Assembly Education Committee, and you do not see your schools getting any better, you need to, in my opinion, that should inform your vote when you walk into the voting booth. So I can do this all day, but I'm not. What I will say is this. Well, the last point, I do need to make one more point. And I started with this point, and I'm going to end with this point. Right? I think it is obscene, right? As a man of faith myself, when I walk around and there's so many people I know in Throgs Neck who are people of faith, right? For an assembly member to, rather than talk about the issues, right, really start attacking people's character and attacking people's faith, right? Now, I know where a lot of this is coming from. Jonathan Soto has called out how Benedetto has received funding from, what is it, like AIPC or something like that. And here's the point. People should know who our candidates are receiving campaign funding from, right? Like, part of the system that we have is that we can go online and we can go to the elections board, right? And we can look up where our candidates are receiving funding, right? Because, people fund who they believe in. And you have to look at who those groups are, who those people are, what they believe in, right? And ask yourself, do they all represent your interests? So to call that out or to highlight who's receiving funding from who, to me, is an issue. It is not cause to start attacking a person's faith. It is not appropriate. It is out of pocket to use that to start attacking one's character, right? And, again, I really do hope that we consider all of those things when we go into the voting booth starting tomorrow. Early voting starts tomorrow. So with that, I'm just going to wrap this all up by saying, go vote. Vote. In our last election, we've got 120,000 or so registered voters in the district, and only like 12,000 came out to vote. It's like 10% of the people deciding who is going to represent us and represent our interests in Albany. So go out and vote. Make a statement. Cast your vote. Make your voice heard. And with that, I'm just going to say, have a good one, everybody. Till next time. Peace.